Just a little bit about Madison-Kipp for those that haven't been here before. I know some of you have. We are a 120-year-old company. We started off actually in Illinois, but moved here way early 1900s. We were an oil lubricating company for years. The quick history is we started making die-cast machines, which is, there's a picture of it right here. And then we started, once we were making die-cast machines and selling them to other die-casters, we decided to produce our own parts. So it is a family-owned company, has been. Tony Kablinski is our president and CEO now. He bought the controlling interest of the organization back in 11. So it's gone from 3 generations of Colemans to a Kablinski and a silent partner, if you will. So it's still family-owned, privately held organization. We're proud of our history. We've done a lot of things with, oh goodness, the military over the years. Talking to some of the, I've been here for 25 years. Some of the old Kippers that have retired used to call us the bomb plant in Madison because we made the mortar shells and that type of thing. We made toys, all sorts of stuff in the past. All aluminum. We used to do a little bit of zinc 25 plus years ago. The lubricating company we sold off back in the late 80s, and since I'm not even sure where they went. But that's kind of the history of Kipp, and today we are what we are, which is, here's our customers. I think Dan did a nice job and Alex did a nice job of explaining who our market is. We're about 65% of our business is automotive. The rest is lawn and garden and recreational. You might recognize these motorcycles here. Another Wisconsin-based company. What's that? You want me to turn it off? Does that help? Is that better? There we go. No sleeping? But Harley is one of our biggest customers. We only have 10 customers. Wow. 10. But with those 10 customers, we do lots of different parts within. And when we are awarded, especially in the automotive industry, when we are awarded the RDU carrier, the housing, and the things that you saw, we do them for 5-6 years. So it's the same part. And then we go back to bid as they change something. So the new stuff in the newer part of the facility, that GKN housing area, we're still in launch mode. One of you guys asked me a great question: how long does it get us from when we're awarded business to launch status? It's about, depending on the part, about 18 months though. Takes us a while. So they design it, and then our engineers will take that and say, is this right for high pressure die cast? So that's a career all in its own as engineering, right? That is a 4-year degree. I'm going to talk about non-degree positions as well. But that's pretty cool. And we have our tooling engineers work with their engineers to say, is this really a good process for our operation in high pressure die cast? We only do one alloy, aluminum, 380, that's it. We don't do any other flavors here at Madison-Kipp. We used to, but this is the strength of the aluminum that the automotive and lawn and garden recreation. So this, it's Kohler engines. You see the zero turn, so we do cast the Kohler engines. So it's prime season for them right now. 3 facilities. Thank you, Christy. That looks much better. Told you she tweaks stuff. So 3 facilities. The main plant, the south plant in Madison, is the oldest. We're off of Fair Oaks, so those 2 plants, those 2 Madison plants are really backyard. We walk in between the 2. And then obviously the Sun Prairie. They're all very similar, right? We molt aluminum, we deliver the molten aluminum to the die casting machines, and then we machine them. The north plant is probably the only one that's a little bit different, as it has 0 machining operations. It's all casting. But South and Sun Prairie are the 2 biggest plants. This one is going to be the bigger plant as we fill up that last line, so it will succeed, or in terms of employee population. We're about 500 strong. You hear everybody out there today screaming for people. I have a lot of openings. I'm embarrassed to say how many. I'm not going to. Unless someone feeds me something, then I'll tell you what I have. But majority of the openings are here. And Danica and I talk about that all the time, right? What do you do, right? You hear it probably within your own districts, right? You can't find people. It doesn't matter what industry. Just with the way we are right now with the baby boomers retiring and not enough population to bring up, and unemployment at less than 2% in Dane County. So what we do, core of it, high pressure die cast. We have 28 casting machines. I think Alex did a nice job of telling you what our strengths and tolerances are. I heard little bits and pieces throughout his tour. All fully automated. When I started 25 years ago, we still had some casting machines where the operator, and these were old, we no longer have these, but they were reaching in with tongs and removing the parts, right? There was one, and then we went to Unimates, and now we got these awesome orange robots called ABBs, but this is kind of our bread and butter, right? We're good at casting. I know a lot of you say we're a foundry. We are. There's no sugarcoating it, right? It is what it is. But then we bring on, and now the new stuff, which is all the precision machining, excuse me. So the tolerances that we hold, the CNC, the robotics, all that new stuff out there, our engineering team put together. We did not go to a third party and say, hey, come build our machining cells. We had our engineers do it. So if they look a little stressed, they are, because they just got done launching, I think we just launched 8 parts in the last 2 years. So craziness here. So now they're going to kind of just one left and they're, okay, we got a little break and then we'll start it again in a couple of years. Quality, I'm glad that we got to stop in our quality lab a little bit, but quality is the third component that we sell to our customers. We are ATAF 16949, it's an automotive quality standard like ISO, TS, that type of thing, 9001. We're also environmentally certified here at Madison-Kipp. We do the right thing. Some of you can debate the history of Madison-Kipp. I'm not here to talk about that, right? But we do the right thing in terms of everything. You saw dirty and clean scrap. I think I told a couple of you folks, right, if the aluminum hits the floor, we have to pay to send that out. If it's clean scrap, meaning it never hit the floor and it's in the tub, we will remelt that, right? That's just part of our operating standards, right? It's the same alloy. We're just going to remelt it in the furnace and re-deliver it. So numerous on and offline quality checks. So we sell this to our customers. Smart Way, which is the lean manufacturing, right? We call it Smart Way. So we've got 6S going on, waste elimination, continuous improvement all day long. So that's kind of who we are in terms of what we sell to our customers. Now the career part, right? So I'm going to start off with general production. I'm glad that we got to stop in the quality lab and we put Gabe on the spot a little bit. He started off as a general production operator. No degree required. Don't even need a high school education, quite frankly. We'll teach it. She'll teach it. Right? We'll teach them that. So from a general production to, boots in, where can they go? And I'd like to talk about just what you saw in general, which is die casting careers. It's an entry level from general production. They make their way up. We send them to school here at Madison-Kipp, and that's one of the things that Christy does very well, is there's prerequisites that employees need to do to get to that casting promotion. And then from there, it's the die cast tech promotion, right? So all stuff that we do in-house, we don't send them to MATC or any other school because no one can duplicate or replicate what we do here, right? We don't have competition in Madison. There are other high-pressure die casters in the state, but this is what we proudly do. And it takes them a while to get through that training. It's not one and you're done. So it's a lot of in class and then on the shop floor training to just be those casting technicians. And those are the folks that are taking, Alex talked about the tools. So they're changing those dies, right, for the next production run. Machining, same concept, right? Walk in, I'm standing there at a machine, how do I get out of that role? What's my next opportunity? Again, all training that we do in-house. You heard Gabe's story. He started off on the floor, he made his way up actually through the machining. He was a machining technician and then made his way into the quality lab, and we'll talk about that. But again, in terms of education, no degrees required, right? Get them in that entry level, and this is not the only career path. Please don't think that I'm siloing any of our employees here, because they can go anywhere and do anything. Depends on what they want to do and if there's additional training or maybe some degree required or additional schooling outside that we can't provide. Obviously, operations management, right? So a lot of opportunities in that realm as well. Plant manager, production manager, you met 2 of them. Production scheduler, shift manager, production group leaders. Those are hourly. Production group leaders are hourly positions, and it's mostly on-the-job training. Do they have some people stuff, right? We'll teach them the soft skills. Bachelor degree, typically for plant manager, but the plant manager you met today does not have a 4-year degree. He's got 30 years of die casting experience. Why do you need a 4-year degree? You don't for that, right? Prefer it, but it's not a necessity. And then we probably tote a lot of leadership development courses here at Madison-Kipp to get them to that operations career track. Quality, you met Gabe and Justin. And for the life of me, I can't think of the other guy's name. For some reason, it's escaping me. I know it. Yeah, and I'm just having a senior moment.
Travis?
No, it wasn't Travis. That's not his name. I'll think of it as you guys are done, right? Oh, yeah. Quality department, right? So there's another hole. So you got production, and then you go off to the quality like Gabe did. These are awesome opportunities. He has no 2-year, 1-year degree, certificate, or anything like that. We have sent him to Zeiss training, which is learning how to program those CMMs. So that one, it's either Minnesota or Detroit, depends on when it is, time of year, but we pay for that. A lot of internal training. I think he said, one of the gentlemen said, hey, I'm spending time with our senior CMM technician, right? So a lot of in-house training as well. Some of it requires a 2-year degree for programming, some of it's a 1-year cert, some of it a 4-year. Just depends on what they come to us from their previous or did they start at Madison-Kipp, and how can we avoid them having to go to school for 4 years if we can get them on a fast track and get them what they need to know. So that's quality. So that's another aspect of manufacturing. Tool and die. Some of you that know me, right? This is something that we've proudly done, right? That's the core of our business. So we have an entire tool room, 3 shifts of tool and die makers. I have 6 tool and die apprentices currently, adding a couple more as I've got some retiring. So that one is a true state indentured apprenticeship program. They can either come to us with a 2-year degree and we'll put them through the apprenticeship, or we'll do the traditional apprenticeship route. From there, they get launched into tooling engineer, tool design. There's lots of opportunities. I even have a master tool and die maker that went through his apprenticeship program, is now running the the North plant on 3 to 11 as a production manager. He did a complete, I love my job, I love being a tool and die maker, but I want to be in operations. So he wants to be a plant manager, and he will be there very successfully. So another career path. If I go too fast, let me know, or if I'm boring you, let me know. Skilled trades, of course we have those, right? Not like the buildings trades, right? I do have a master electrician and 1 journeyman, 1 apprentice electrician, just because of what you see coming in voltage into our building. But once it hits the MG&E or it's very late out here, but once it hits those boxes or those substations, no, our guys can't touch it. But proudly do those things. Maintenance technicians, I can't get enough of those. I'm sure you hear that. I know Danica, I sound like a broken record to her. We have 8 people, all promoted from within, as maintenance technicians apprenticeship. So they're in the state indentured apprenticeship program to be maintenance technicians. Okay, so proudly to say, right, majority of them are men, but I now have 2 females that I'm happy to be part of our maintenance team. So they no offense, gentlemen, but they do kind of show up the men a little bit, so, it's not necessarily brawn, it's brain. But those are the things that we probably do. Now, granted, these skilled trades are going to pay more money, just because they're maintenance, the maintenance and or tool and die. But again, they come to us without a high school education. If they don't, we'll get them their GED, we'll pay for that. And then they go on and get their apprenticeship programs and or 1-year cert or 2-year degree, depending on what path it is that goes in. Automation is something fun to talk about. We didn't get to meet Jay and his team, but there is a lot of automation out there. So that 2-year degree at MATC for automation technician is alive and well. About a year plus ago, we hired a senior automation engineer, and he brought on 2, 1 Madison grad and another one from the Fox Valley technical area to do all the automation that I don't even understand, to be honest, right? Just know that Tony can go to his computer and see what's running today on certain cells, especially the newer stuff. So it's pretty cool, and they work real well with our IT department. Engineering, right? Engineering, I'll say this all day long. Typically, this is going to need the degree, typically. But again, if they're a 4-year degree ME or an IE, that type of thing, we will definitely entertain them in terms of process engineering, manufacturing. So process is die casting engineering. Manufacturing is the folks that are mostly here. So they're dealing with all the machining side. And then we also have tooling engineers, they're kind of off in a small little area at Madison-Kipp, but they're the ones that work with our customers. Typical engineering ladder, right? An intern, right, to an engineer 1, 2, senior engineer. We have that automation engineer and a principal engineer. All that is a ladder, is years of job, years of experience on the job. So again, yes, a 4-year degree, so if you've got kids that are looking towards engineering, don't steer them out of that. But manufacturing is another opportunity to take in terms of engineering. And then, of course, right, you have your professional, the other side, right? You got finance, we have sales, the production control folks, right? IT, HR, no one likes HR. That HR side, safety, right, and purchasing. We have it all, right? Everybody thinks manufacturing is, but we've got some pretty cool opportunities within our 4 walls, times 3, here at Madison-Kipp and everywhere else, right? Emphasize the specialty in which they are, a 4-year degree or beyond. And I think I have a slide that probably talks about what we do. But one of the things that the guys have talked about is we pay for all their tuition in school. Tuition reimbursement, apprenticeship programs, those are the things. They got to have a little skin in the game. They're going to make them pay for it up front, but we'll reimburse them 100%. So they don't have to go broke to get to that 2-year, 4-year degree, or just get to that next level to make some decent money. I didn't put wages on here just because it changes every year. But someone with a 4-year degree walking out of engineering school is going to start at $65,000 a year. That's just kind of the going rate of what it is, right? So obviously our engineers that are senior make a lot more than that. So, and my hourly folks do very well. I know some of the hourly folks make a lot more money than some of the salaried folks. It just depends on how much time they're putting in and where they're at. Here's what I see, right? I'm sure you hear this. Here's what we offer, right? The soft skills, we need to have this. And you guys, you have kids, right? You have the young adults that you see every day. But we're looking for folks that are flexible, right? They're willing to work overtime. Right now, we're just so busy. So we've got some of our shifts running 6-7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Not that we tie our employees up here 24 hours a day, but the 8-hour shifts. Responsibility, right? If you got a kid that's looking for a job, right? As long as they're going to be on time every day, we're willing to give them an opportunity and train them up, right? See how they go. Cell phones are a big issue. I don't need to talk to you guys about cell phones, do I? They're a pain in the butt. So we have a pretty strict responsibility here. You saw no one out there with cell phones except authorized, such as plant management, engineers, and our group leads, some of our hourly group leads. Accountability, right? They need to be accountable for what they're doing. Their names are tagged on those parts. Okay, so what shift? They're in the casting side. Their names are attached to it. So it's kind of cool. Some accountability. There's a lot of accountability and professionalism all time, right? Good judgment. Come into work. I think all of us have to lecture folks, adults, and children alike that you need to come to work and be professional at all times. Technical skills that I'm always looking for: math, basic math. It's amazing. People can't add 2 and 2 together sometimes, right? Communication, just basic written and verbal communication. Reading, just basic instructions, right? That's why I look at Christy and I say, okay, are we too technical? What do we need to do? And that's one of the things that she does with our training program. So make sure it's an easy written and verbal, reading and interpreting instructions and the training that we do, so everybody can comprehend. And basic computer skills. Not a lot of data entry out there except for what our ERP system calls for. How many parts did you make? Usually they're right on an account board before they get into our ERP system.
Do you do a math test when you
We used to.
people?
We do when they go into quality.
Okay.
But when they come in general production, no math test required. We used to do a skills test. I dropped that as well.
Okay.
So.
Do you drug test?
We do. We do. We are still of the age where we do a gamut of drug testing and alcohol testing. It's pre-employment, post-offer, pre-employment, post-offer, that is. Random, accident, and for cause. You see what we're dealing with? One of my, in orientation, right, I still meet all the new hires, is I just say, please, if you are under the influence of something, please don't come to work. We stop by the one diagnostic machine, but that's a 1400 press. It would just take someone easily enough to, even though all the safety features are there, right? You break into that interlocking gate, it will stop, but it doesn't take someone to do something really stupid. right? Forklift drivers, you see it, right? So the molten aluminum guys. So we're still a drug testing employer. And yes, we still test for THC. I know that's coming up, right? So these are the opportunities at Madison-Kipp: full-time, part-time, internship, co-ops for engineers. We always have at least, what did we have last year? 6 engineers here last summer. And then we steal them when they're on break during the summertime, or excuse me, the winter break. We steal them and they come back and finish projects that maybe they didn't get done during the summer. Youth apprenticeship we have done. We've done engineering. And then summer employment. Someone that just wants to come test it out, right? So, yeah, I don't know if that's what I want to do. So part-time or full-time during the summer as well. So it's kind of who we are.
You'll be 18.
Yes. Youth apprenticeship is the asterisk to that. So I did have a young lady do the engineering, and she wasn't, she came, I can't remember if it was West or Memorial now. West, Jamie came, it wasn't West, thank you. See, I'm old, I can't remember. But I get her back every year in the summer. So I think she graduates next year, so I might not see her this year. But so yes, that's the only caveat, is the 18, unless they're under that youth apprenticeship program. The only thing I won't put them in is in the foundry. But machining, are you kidding me? It would be a great opportunity for a youth apprentice.
Yeah.
I'll steer them clear of the foundry area or the die casting. I prefer not to, just because I know I'm covered, but no, I don't know. I just prefer them away from the molten aluminum. I'm respectful of your time. I talk too fast. What questions do you have for me? Did I miss something that you guys have heard in the manufacturing sector? Christy, I'm looking at you. She's the quiet one.
Entry level, what would be the pay range?
Right now, it's 13 for just walking in the door. There's a shift premium of 5%, so $13.65. They quickly go to, whether on the machining side or the die cast side, they quickly get a 50-cent raise. They just need to complete training, and typically they do that within the first 4 months. And then my casting folks, my die casting people, will make $1 more an hour than my machining people, just because of the environment in which they're in, and it's a lot more technical. So, and again, we train all that. She trains it all. She's got a technical trainer underneath her that does all that technical training. So, I'm not smart enough. What other questions?
I feel like if you're trying it all,
Yeah.
part-time,
everything.
apprenticeship, tuition reimbursement.
But yet, why? Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is, right? So, you know, I turnover here on the production side is not good. You know, it's all about employee engagement and how to get them. But on the professional side, we don't have the turnover. So, I mean, I'm happy to, you know,
Yeah.
keep those folks. Oh, one thing I gotta probably say: 90 promotions last year.
Awesome.
90. So that means that they went from that general production, or, and again, we don't have silos, so they can go wherever they want. Promoted a gentleman on the 3rd shift, started off, he does have his high school diploma, made it to machining tech. He's now running the entire shift on 3 to 11 here, right? A lot of those opportunities. It's not just a 50-cent promotion. I'm talking a promotion from one role to another where they hold some additional responsibilities.
You had mentioned doing some training or teaching some courses. Can you talk a little bit more about those opportunities?
I'm gonna let Christy talk to that.
Yeah, so we actually have training pathways for all of our employees, just kind of focus in on our main die-cast operators and machining operators. Those are called grade 6 and grade 7, so our people all start a new hire orientation. We have a formal program set for the first week, the second week, and then at 90 days, there is additional on-the-job metrics that they need to meet. Concurrently with that are 2 levels of quality training that they go through. And we do have customers that ask me for the transcripts of our employees to prove that we have taught them what they need to know about those quality pieces. So all of our employees by the 90-day mark can speak intelligently about what they're doing and the quality expectations. At that point, they get recommended back into the classroom. And I do have 2 technical trainers that are part of my department, one on the die-cast side and one on the machining side. But we also invite a variety of other employees into our classroom for their specialty area. So they are getting the most experience from the front of the classroom that they can afford. a lot of my job is just to design all of the materials to be both teacher and student friendly so that the learning can happen while they're in the classroom together. So that would be the grade 6 level. They test out of that. That's part of their first promotion. And then as they start moving into different levels, whether it's going to be tech or quality, or they're going to be working on the robots with the automation, we actually have training pathways for all of that. We have a leadership series that we do with all of our techs because they tend to be situational leaders. And we're working on a first-time leadership course for those people like our afternoon supervisor here that are moving from never being an official formal leader before to going into leadership. So we actually have both classroom and on-the-job training pathways set up for all of those departments. And things that we can't do, we do engage with outside sources like Madison College or Zeiss or CMM or one of our vendors that offers those specific trainings. And we absolutely reimburse all of that for our employees.
Does that happen outside of the workday then for the employees who are working?
It may happen outside of their typical work hours. It never happens outside of us taking responsibility for them being at work. So if I have somebody who's on a 3 to 11 shift, but I need them to come to class from 1 to 3, they're being paid for those hours that they're in the classroom.
I think last spring we had talked a little bit about potentially doing a cohort of something. And I don't remember what that class would have been.
Because Chrissy, you're a teacher
I was a science teacher for 14 years.
for 14 years, so, yeah, and Chrissy, you're excited. I mean, like, you're talking to all these teachers here, so how do we get kids excited about opportunities in manufacturing or to let them know what it is? From the old days of going to Madison-Kipp and seeing the big furnaces and everything, like, it has changed so dramatically.
Right.
But again, people's ideas of what manufacturing is are,
Yeah. I think you're seeing a shift in that over the last few years. There's been more conversation away from it has to be a 4-year. When I went to college, you graduated from school and you went to a 4-year. That was what was talked about. And I'm glad to see that a lot of schools are picking up with STEM programs, Project Lead the Way. My husband is the Project Lead the Way coordinator in Belleville, so I know all the different things that they're doing with those programs to get kids interested and started before they ever leave school. There's more conversation, I think, around those 2-year degrees and the opportunities that come with those, even for students who think they might want a 4-year engineering degree, to go get that 2-year degree first. And then you've either saved money on your first 2 years, or a lot of the times they'll find an employer who's happy to hire them and pay for their next 2 years while they get their engineering degree. So I think for students, it's just having some of those conversations so that they know this doesn't have to be, you don't have to go get a liberal arts degree from UW-Madison, charge up your $130,000 and then go figure out what you want to do. It's just having more of those honest conversations with students up front and supporting those programs.
As far as students that graduate from high school and come to you, is there any deficiencies they may have that kind of evident at this point in time?
So we run into a couple of different things. Math skills, measuring skills, sometimes reading and communication. So fortunately for us, they don't need to be able to write a 5-paragraph essay supporting their reasons why they want to be a die-cast tech. So that's good. The math stuff.
I'm sorry, but some of our 4-year degree engineers can't do that either.
Yeah.
They're all about the math.
So when we run into those, a lot of our training tends to be tailored to the job then. So if they're lacking in a math skill that we need them to be able to do for our specific like ERP system, we can train them to that math skill. If they're working on that 2-year degree, we try to put them in a place like Madison College where they can have the opportunity to build up those skills as they work towards quality or automation or whatever it is. But I know within our system, whatever deficiencies our new employees might come with, part of that on the job and in the classroom training, is, as far as performing this job goes, takes care of that for them. We make sure they feel successful in what they need to do here.